What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video, a 2020 NFL redraft. Now, I think I have done this before. However, that was over a year ago, and a lot has changed since then as we've seen the second year for some of these players. So I decided, let's run it back and do another 2020 NFL redraft. Now, I also did a 2021 NFL redraft not too long ago, maybe less than a month ago, and that was a lot of fun to do, just a year after those rookie seasons. But of course, it's always going to be tough to do this type of video because you have to operate both under hindsight, but also kind of what they need today. So for some teams, even if they have a quarterback, you still might take a QB. For other teams, it's tough because, like, how do you value the best player available? Do you value what they really would have needed back in 2020 or what they need going into the 2022 season? So it's a little bit of both. So hopefully take this with a grain of salt. Don't take it too seriously. We're just having a bit of fun out here, and let's go ahead and get things started. Of course, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and let's take the number one overall pick, which I'm going to keep as Joe Burrow. Now, you could argue that Justin Herbert is a better NFL quarterback, but what you can't argue about is how impactful Joe Burrow has been for the Bengals when he's been healthy and on the field. He got better as the season went on last year, and it was really his first full season of being healthy, based off of getting injured, I think, after 10 or 12 games in season one. So Joe Burrow continues to get better. He's exactly what Cincinnati needs, and they're not going to change this pick. Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow, whatever you want to call him, right? He stays the number one pick. But for Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders, you can't rock with Carson Wentz. With Justin Herbert available, with how well he's played so far in the league, he is the pick here at number two. I don't really think there are a whole lot of other options. Yes, I know Chase Young won Defensive Rookie of the Year with Washington, but he can't be the pick with Justin Herbert on the board. Herbert is just too valuable. This video is sponsored by Mack Weldon. I'm feeling adventurous today. Yeah, I've got the Riverside hoodie on, but I've also got the blue Ace sweatpants. I'm looking like Tony Soprano in the jumpsuit. But also, if you're looking for a more business casual look, the Ace sweatpants are for daily wear. So you can check out the khakis. I've worn these into a dress code restaurant before, which was a gamble, but it was a gamble that paid off because these look nice. They feel even better. You can really get away with wearing these wherever. I don't know if you guys can tell from the hoodies every day, but I'm a guy who likes to be comfortable, and I don't really like dressing up. But the Ace sweatpants are such a fun compromise on that because you're not compromising on look or feel, in my opinion. I think they're just absolutely spectacular. Even though I'm big on the sweatpants right now, they also have a bunch of other stuff on their website as well, from hoodies to even nice shirts as well if you got to get fancy. So they've really got everything over there. It really is for daily wear. Super easy to use website as well, and you can find out when you go to MackWeldon.com/Bengal YouTube. That link is down in the description. The code is Bengal YouTube. Spell out my name and then YouTube. Very easy. 20% off your first order at MackWeldon.com/Bengal YouTube with code Bengal YouTube. To find your perfect look for the end of spring and into the summer with Mack Weldon, link is down in the description. And thank you to Mack Weldon for sponsoring the video. Although my third pick will be Chase Young to the Detroit Lions, he's still an amazing player. I feel like guys are down on him because he got injured in 2021, but he won Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2020 for a reason. He's a really talented player. He's in that upper echelon of edge rush prospects that are better than the Kayvon Thibodeaux and up in that Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett range. Chase Young is a tremendous talent, and I don't really see him falling beyond this number 3 overall spot. I could also see Justin Jefferson there potentially, but we're going to go with Chase Young, a little bit more valuable, a little bit tougher to find elite edge rushers than it is for receivers, even though Justin Jefferson is a stud. The first real tough pick gets to be the Giants at 4. You could go Justin Jefferson as well. There are a number of other players. A.J. Terrell may be in play as well. We are going to go with the tackle, and Andrew Thomas has been very good for the Giants. He really came on last season despite a rough rookie year. He was real solid last season. But I'm going to end up going with Tristan Wirfs over him. He has just been the best tackle of this class so far. He's played right tackle, sure, but he's been an elite all-pro right tackle, and he's worth a top 5 selection, I think, going higher overall than Andrew Thomas. Yes, you have Evan Neal. He's going to play right tackle for the Giants now. Andrew Thomas sticks at left tackle, but with Tristan Wirfs, you got to take him if we were going to do this over. But Andrew Thomas wouldn't stay on the board much longer than that. He was just this really solid left tackle last season, and with the Mekhi Becton injury concerns, Jedrick Wills a little bit as well, but Mekhi Becton in particular, he's not going to be as high off the board as if he were not injured. And also there were big weight concerns with him as well, where he was over 400 in his rehab. He's a big dude, I get it, but that is concerning. But we'll move to the Chargers here at number 6. I think Mekhi Becton could be in play. Jedrick Wills, and keep in mind, they don't have a quarterback, so maybe Tua, maybe Jordan Love, maybe Jalen Hurts, whoever. But we are going to go with Justin Jefferson. I think what it comes down to is the player is just too good to leave him on the board. And yes, you have Mike Williams, yes, you have Keenan Allen, but they do like to run a lot of receivers. You can never really have too many of them. And if Justin Jefferson's on the board, I think you definitely consider getting him if you can't get Justin Herbert, who goes much earlier. For the Panthers, this could be Tua time as well, or Jalen Hurts, but we're going to go ahead and go with an offensive lineman, and that is Mekhi Becton. They've needed tackle for a really long time now, and of course, this is a redraft, so we kind of have to operate under what we know now, and the Panthers have really needed an offensive tackle. They obviously took Ike Ekwonu very high in this draft because they needed a tackle so badly, but if they got Mekhi Becton, maybe he wouldn't be so much of a need. Could have looked in another direction, but Mekhi Becton is going to be the pick there. Just a really talented player when he's healthy and playing at a good weight, and the Panthers have just really needed offensive line help. And even if you did have Ike Ekwonu, you could move him to guard, Taylor Moton at right tackle, Mekhi Becton at right tackle with Moton at the left side. Maybe you have Ekwonu play left tackle. Even with Ekwonu, which keep in mind this is a redraft of 2020, so we don't really know about that yet, but you still could draft him and be very happy with the result. So Mekhi Becton is the pick for me. And then at number 8, I'm going to the cornerbacks. I'm going with A.J. Terrell. He has been the best corner from this draft class, in my opinion. Yes, Trevon Diggs was an all-pro last year. I think A.J. Terrell is more of a lockdown corner, although Trevon Diggs had a very good season in terms of forcing turnovers. I think Terrell's been a little bit better in terms of locking guys up. I think that's a little bit more valuable, at least in my opinion. If you're doing your own redraft, you could take Trevon Diggs here or whoever, but I'm taking A.J. Terrell, who's been spectacular. And I think the Cardinals, who've really needed help at corner ever since Pat Pete left and even a little bit before then as well, could really be happy with A.J. Terrell at number 8. Absolutely warrants a top 10 pick. And we get to the Jags at 9. Yes, they did spend a lot of money at the receiver position, but with CeeDee Lamb available, we got to take him here at number 9. He is kind of the guy that they hoped Laviska Shenault could become. CeeDee Lamb is like a good version of Laviska Shenault. Not quite as dynamic as Laviska as like a running back, but in terms of after the catch and being a true receiver, CeeDee Lamb is definitely above him in my opinion, and probably worthy of a top 10 pick. He was a really good player at Oklahoma, and now with Amari Cooper out of Dallas, could get even more targets, even more production here in 2022. CeeDee Lamb is a heck of a player, and I think could go at number 9 to the Jags, who need a lot of help for Trevor Lawrence. And I think there are a bunch of different directions you could go here. You could maybe talk about a receiver, T. Higgins. Could go offensive line and just keep Jedrick Wills like they actually did in real life. I think that makes a ton of sense, but they've had such a problem on the interior of the defensive line. If you take a big space eater like Derek Brown that can be completely shut down in the run game, makes the job a lot easier for your linebackers. I think Derek Brown is just a match made in heaven here. You could sell me on a number of different players, like Jedrick Wills, for sure, keeping him in the mix. Maybe even Isaiah Simmons. Talking about any of these linebackers, really, Jordan Brooks has been good. Patrick Queen has played a good role. To Logan Wilson, I think that's definitely in play as well. You could go a bunch of different areas here if you're Cleveland. Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr., Chase Claypool. You could sell me on a bunch of different things, but Derek Brown is going to end up being my choice. First pick out of the top 10 is going to be Jedrick Wills for the Jets here. I mean, he could have gone to number 10 to the Browns. It absolutely would have made sense. But for the Jets not getting Mekhi Becton, tackle is going to be such a big need for them. And Jedrick Wills being available here at 11, I think that's a snap pick for the Jets. Again, could go a bunch of different ways here. Still a lot of talent on the board. Even Isaiah Simmons still, but Jedrick Wills will be the guy for me at number 11. I just think he's too good of a fit. Without Mekhi Becton, it's like you need that position so badly. As we go to the Raiders, probably upset that all the tackles have gone already, and they're going to go with an offensive lineman. Jonah Jackson's quite good. Could be a guard off the board here. Kevin Dotson, quite good as well. Could also make sense, but I'm going to go with Mike Onwenu. He's been so good for the Patriots. Has played like every offensive line spot for them and has been really, really good when doing that. I don't think he's played center, but he's been really solid at guard, has played some tackle. He's what they kind of hoped Alex Leatherwood would be. Onwenu is really solid. I think worthy of a top 15 selection. Some good guards in this class, but as you can see, this is a pretty talented draft class. Not everyone's going to end up being a first-round pick. There's a lot of talent that ends up falling out because it is a really talented draft class. For the Niners, going to end up going with a cornerback, and that is Trevon Diggs. Was an all-pro this past season. He's a ball hawk, no question about that. And the 49ers could really use some help at corner. Trevon Diggs is the pick for me at 13. And then at 14, no Tristan Wirfs available. So what do? We'll go with their second-round pick with Antoine Winfield Jr. Definitely is worth being a top 15 pick. He's a really, really talented safety. So young as well. I just think he's a great fit here to go back to Tampa. But instead of waiting for him in the second round, they have to spend a top 15 pick on him. At number 15, it's no secret the Broncos could use help at linebacker, and Isaiah Simmons is a really fun hybrid player that's still trying to find his stride with Arizona. I feel like they keep taking these linebackers. They don't really have a known use for them, but Simmons is a versatile guy that can do a lot, and if you want him to play Mike, I think he could end up being a pretty solid Mike linebacker. I don't think that's his best role, but I think he could do it. Also could end up playing strong safety for the Broncos after losing Kareem Jackson. Not that that's happened, but he's pretty old. It could end up happening very soon. Simmons is just a really good player. I probably view him as a linebacker here, and he's just too good to get past number 15. The potential is still crazy with Isaiah Simmons. As we go to the Falcons at 16, first running back off the board. Might be the only running back we see here in round 1, just because we don't really see running back go that high in the draft anymore. But if anyone would in a redraft, it's Jonathan Taylor. He's been phenomenal for the Colts. Really, really talented player. One of the best running backs in the league. I think that's probably worth a top 16 pick to at least some team. And for the Falcons who need a lot, how about get a workhorse running back for the offense and go with Jonathan Taylor? I think the player is quite good. Cowboys at 17 probably would have taken Trevon Diggs if he was available. Instead, they're going to go for a different corner and some good ones available. Love Christian Fulton, Jalen Johnson, Bryce Hall, L'Jarius Sneed. All of those guys have been really, really good so far in their young NFL careers. But we're going to go end up taking Christian Fulton. This was close with Jalen Johnson, L'Jarius Sneed, Bryce Hall even. I think those guys are pretty close. But Christian Fulton's really becoming a pretty good cover corner. And for the Cowboys at 17, you need a starting outside corner. I think Christian Fulton can absolutely do the job. You don't get the SEC guy in Trevon Diggs, but you do get one in Christian Fulton on the boundary. For the Dolphins at 18, with Tua Tagovailoa still on the board, I think you probably do end up pulling the trigger. You didn't take him at number 5 because he really hasn't been that guy yet, but he still could end up being at least decent quarterback, especially as the offensive line continues to get better, as the weapons continue to get better around him. This is a real big prove-it year for Tua. You brought in Teron Armstead to be that lockdown left tackle, go out on an island, take away the other team's best pass rusher. That could be a thing that ends up happening quite a lot as long as he stays healthy. And of course, you have Jalen Waddle in year 2. You have Tyreek Hill now. This could end up being a really, really good offense. And Tua being available here at 18, I think makes a lot of sense for the Dolphins to go ahead and pull the trigger. And you get pretty good value there. Raiders' second pick as well. Of course, Andrew Thomas pairs with Tua. And the Raiders took Onwenu a little bit earlier. We're going to go over to the defensive side of the ball and take someone that just feels like a match made in heaven, which is Jeremy Chin. Had a really, really good rookie season. Just a pretty good player. Hybrid linebacker type safety. I mean, he can really do a lot of different things for a defense. He's been really solid for Carolina. Really fun player. And for the Raiders, they keep kind of draft this player with like a Divine Diablo, with Tyree Gillespie, with Jonathan Abram. I think Jeremy Chin is the best version of all those guys, at least for right now. Chin is really solid. I think is worth being a first-round pick in this redraft for sure, and the Raiders get a pretty good value pick at number 19. Before we get to the Jags at 20, of course, we went with CeeDee Lamb a little bit earlier. We're not going to end up going with a receiver here, although there are some really talented ones on the board. We're going to have to look in a different direction, and that to me is going to be, and Robert Hunt is good too, by the way. We didn't even talk about him. But that's going to be Jonah Jackson. He can step in over Ben Barch and play left guard, but of course, you'd be more happy with him. He's had a pretty good career so far as well in Detroit. That offensive line is pretty solid for the Lions. But Jonah Jackson's worth being a top 20 pick, and I think would be a starter on that offensive line for Jacksonville. Like, yes, you didn't end up getting the premier tackle that you would have liked, although Jed Wills would have been an option, but you do get a really, really good guard in Jonah Jackson. Could have potentially sold me on a safety as well for Jacksonville. And there are some good ones available. Xavier McKinney, Grant Delpit, Kyle Duggar, Julian Blackmon. Like, there are some really, really good players. And then, like, Ashton Davis is okay. Terrell Burgess is okay. Brandon Jones has had a pretty good career so far. Cam Curl, too. Like, they've had some pretty good years. Cam Curl was better as a rookie than he was last year. But it's a pretty good safety class. But they can't all go first round, especially at a less valuable position. You got to be able to do a lot. Eagles, though, going to go with a corner. It's interesting because we know that they have James Bradbury now. They have Darius Slay. Jalen Johnson makes a ton of sense. Bryce Hall, too. I mean, there's so many decent corners. I'm going to end up going with L'Jarius Sneed out of Louisiana Tech. He was great for Kansas City. He can play the boundary, he can play the nickel. I like L'Jarius Sneed a lot. And for Philadelphia, probably ends up being a slot corner. He's had a really, really good career so far. Underrated player. For Minnesota, no Justin Jefferson. Doesn't end up falling here. But we are going to end up going with a wide receiver. And with T. Higgins on the board, that's going to end up being my pick. T. Higgins is just really, really good. And we could even double up on receiver if we wanted to. Wide receiver would certainly be in play for the Patriots. Corner could be as well. Like Jalen Johnson being here, Bryce Hall. Like those guys would definitely be in heavy consideration. But linebacker is also such a big need. And with Logan Wilson being available here at 23, he's had another really good start to his career. Super good player for the Bengals, is exactly what their defense needs. And the Patriots go ahead and steal him from them. And I think it's a really good fit for both teams. Again, this could be a corner. It could be a receiver. Could even be a quarterback if they like Jalen Hurts. But we end up going Logan Wilson. For the Saints, I got a match made in heaven. And that's giving them a receiver in the form of Tulane's Darnell Mooney. How about that? Tulane is in New Orleans, Louisiana. Lo and behold, that's where the Saints end up playing their football games as well. So Darnell Mooney gets to stay local. He's had a good start to his career as well. Super fun player, especially for someone that was a 5th round pick. Could I see him sneaking into the 1st round in a redraft? I think absolutely, depending on what the team's looking for at the position. And Darnell Mooney is exactly what the Saints could use as a 2nd or 3rd receiver. I think this is a really, really solid fit for them. For the Vikings, can't double up on receiver, although I would like to. We're going to go with the corner, and that is Utah's Jalen Johnson. I think he's a really, really good fit. And it's a lot of these guys kind of staying in the same division that they were drafted to, although with different teams. Jalen Johnson from Chicago to Minnesota. We saw it happen a little bit earlier as well, or at least guys staying in the same conference or same team, I should say. Dolphins at 26, though. A bunch of different options. They took Noah Igbenogany here. I don't think they would do that pick again, but it could be a corner, although they are really deep at that position. I don't think they would double up. Even though they have 3 picks, I don't think they would take a corner here. And I think the receivers are pretty fine. I'm going to end up going with an edge rusher, and I think the best one available is Jonathan Grenard from Florida. He's been a really good player for the Texans. I know it's probably a name you haven't heard a lot about, but Jonathan Grenard has been good, and the Dolphins could really use some edge help on the other side of what has been a really fun find out of Oklahoma State for them in Emmanuel Ogbah. But Seahawks at 27 could go a lot of different directions here. Like quarterback potentially, receiver potentially, corner potentially. But I think they would have been pretty happy with the play of Jordan Brooks so far. So we're going to keep that pick the same and give Jordan Brooks back to Seattle. For the Ravens, they could take Justin Madubuike here in the 1st, who they end up with later. Could end up being a safety like Xavier McKinney. We know they love their Alabama players. But I'm going to go ahead and keep this the same as well. I think Patrick Queen got off to a bit of a rocky start in 2021 for the Ravens. But as more of a weak side linebacker, came on pretty strong at the back half of the year and is a pretty solid player for them in his role. So for the Ravens at 28, I could see them keeping this the same. And then for the Titans at 29, a lot in play here. Could definitely be a receiver, Michael Pittman Jr., could be Jalen Hurts, but in my mind, this is 2020. How much of an upgrade is Jalen Hurts over Ryan Tannehill? And I don't think you're going to like my answer on that. So I'm not going to end up taking Jalen Hurts for the Titans, even though it could be in play. They drafted Malik Willis. But we're going to go with the receiver, and that's Michael Pittman Jr. He's been really productive for Indianapolis. He is a good player, and I think worthy of a 1st-round pick here. Take a receiver for the Packers as well. That's Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. We know they need a receiver. Of course, no Devontae Adams if you're going back and redrafting this. I'm sure they would like to have Brandon Ayuk on the squad. Somebody that can get deep for them as well. Ayuk is a good fit in Green Bay, in my opinion. It would be tempting to double up on corner here, even with taking Trayvon Diggs earlier. I just think that they would be pretty happy with the result of getting Bryce Hall here, but not going to do that to mix it up. And I'm going to end up taking a guard for them. Their offensive line could use a little bit of work. Cesar Ruiz has not been great for the Saints at guard, albeit still has potential, maybe more of a center. Robert Hunt has been good for Miami. I think you've got to be really happy with what you've seen from John Simpson and Solomon Kindley and Kevin Dotson, in particular Kevin Dotson of that bunch. But I'm not saying some of those guys should be first-round picks, by the way, but Kevin Dotson I could see, Robert Hunt I could see, and we'll go with Kevin Dotson, who I think has been a pretty solid starting left guard for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he ends up being a first-round pick in this redraft for good reason. And there's still so many talented players on the board, especially at safety. Talking about Xavier McKinney, Grant Delpit, Kyle Duggar, Brandon Jones, Julian Blackmon. I mean, there are some really good safeties in here. I talked about them a little bit earlier, and you could be very happy taking any of those guys here. Of course, still good running backs available. DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a good player so far. Not a first-rounder, in my opinion. Antonio Gibson, kind of along those same lines. A.J. Dillon's been a good player. Not going to take any of those guys in round one. I think you have more than enough receivers at this point, so we're going to go with a safety, and you can take pretty much whatever one you want at this point. I'm going to go ahead and go with Xavier McKinney. He's been really, really good for the Giants. I think he's been one of the best safeties of this bunch for sure, but it's a good safety group. Like, you could sell me on Kyle Duggar. You could sell me on Julian Blackmon, who had an amazing rookie year, even though he wasn't quite as good in year two. Like, there's some really good players here who are still available, so I'll give you guys a few more picks. For the Bengals, we're going to end up going receiver. No T. Higgins. We're going to end up taking a receiver here. And who most closely resembles T. Higgins of this group, maybe Chase Claypool, could be Jerry Jeudy as well, but he really hasn't been like exactly what you've wanted so far, and he just got arrested as well. His production hasn't been there, hasn't stayed healthy, so I'm not sure that Jerry Jeudy ends up being a first rounder, even though he still could be based on what we might see in 2022 or 2023. He's a really good player. It's just about continuing to develop as an overall receiver. He's got great route running, but there's more to just route running at playing receiver. But still, good player, could end up being a first rounder. But I think the Colts will be pretty upset that Chase Claypool's off the board and Michael Pittman's off the board. They really do need receivers so bad. So even though I kind of want to just give them Julian Blackmon, I'm going to go receiver here, and I'll give them Jerry Jeudy. I think the Lions have a bunch of different options here. I think you could go interior offensive line. Of course, they're not going to have Jonah Jackson. He went at number 20. So could definitely take a guard. Robert Hunt, maybe even Cesar Ruiz, right? Could still develop him. John Simpson, potentially. But I am just going to go running back. DeAndre Swift is good. I want to show that I think he's good and make him a top 40 pick. I'll value cornerback a little bit more than safety for the Giants here, and I'll give them Bryce Hall at 36. But yes, no Xavier McKinney. Safety, absolutely a need. I could see it for sure. Just see a lot more strong safeties than free safeties, and the Giants would kind of be more in need of a free safety. And of course, like, a lot of things could change at this point. Like, there's still so many good players available. It's tough to fit these guys all in. The Chargers, Justin Madubuike, the player is quite good. And of course, you know, the Chargers could use a little bit of help on that defensive interior, but we know that in 2022, they would spend a lot in free agency and even take a Tito Ogbonnaya as well. But I could see Justin Madubuike being a fit here if they were to go back and do things in 2020. For the Panthers, we're going to go for that Jeremy Chin replacement. I think that's Kyle Duggar. I think that makes a ton of sense. For the Dolphins, a lot is available here. A lot's on the table. I might just go Robert Hunt because he has been a good starter for them. So we'll take Robert Hunt over what would be more fun in a running back, probably in J.K. Dobbins or Cam Akers maybe. I'll give the Texans Jalen Hurts, keep him fairly local, headed down from Oklahoma to Houston. And yeah, no Davis Mills. Deshaun Watson's future in jeopardy at this time, so taking Jalen Hurts at number 40 I think would have made a ton of sense. I'll throw Grant Delpit to the Browns. He could end up being a really, really good player for Cleveland, so I think we'll go ahead and keep that fit of Grant Delpit in Cleveland. I'm going to give the Jags a safety as well. Could be Brandon Jones, but we'll go Julian Blackmon, who had such a great rookie year. No question about it. The Bears, do we have a pick earlier? Nope, didn't think so. This could end up being a receiver. The Bears could definitely use a receiver. Could be a tackle, but don't really love the tackles available. I think we'll go with a corner in CJ Henderson. No Jalen Johnson. I think this is a fit that makes some sense. I think the Colts would probably be upset that Julian Blackmon's here, or not here. We're going to go with a running back, and that's J.K. Dobbins. That is your Jonathan Taylor replacement, and J.K. Dobbins, I think, would still be a really, really good fit in Indianapolis. I think J.K. Dobbins is super underrated. Got injured last year, but was so productive before that. I think the Bucs could definitely go with the safety. Of course, no Antoine Winfield. Oh, no, we took Antoine Winfield Jr. at 14. Okay, so we're not going to do that. Tackle would certainly be a need, but don't love what's here. You can sell me on a lot here. I'm going to end up going with a running back. Cam Akers has been quite good, and I think he'd be a good fit in Tampa that really doesn't have that clear RB1 of the future. This could be Cam Akers. Yes, I know you got playoff Lenny there right now, but you got a lot of short-term answers at running back, and Cam Akers could be a long-term one. Although I did love them taking Rachaad White. I think he's going to be a really, really good player, but of course, this is 2020. The Broncos went back-to-back receivers in round 1 and 2 in real life in Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. Now, we still have some decent players on the board still, but receivers thinned out a bit. I think they would probably end up going KJ Hamler again, even though Donovan Peoples-Jones has been more productive. Gabriel Davis. Let's give him Gabriel Davis. He had such a big playoff game and has been productive as well. It's tough because we just haven't seen all these guys yet. Like, they could end up being really solid, but we just don't know. I'll take Gabriel Davis. Gabe Davis has just been the best of the bunch so far, even though I still think KJ Hamler would be quite a good fit. We've just certainly seen a lot more from Gabe Davis than KJ Hamler. Falcons can just kind of use all they can get right now. Took a running back earlier. I know that's not ideal, but with some of the edge talent still here, it's not amazing, but it is pretty good. I think the one who's flashed the most so far, just in my opinion, feel free to disagree, is Darrell Taylor. He's been pretty good for Seattle, especially of late. Like, you could sell me on maybe Terrell Lewis there, you Turgros Matos if you're going with an edge rusher. Certain other guys in consideration too, but I'm going to take Darrell Taylor. Or Darrell Taylor. 3 more picks here I'm going to make. Still need a tackle, but again, I just don't love what's on the board. So I'll give the Jets a linebacker, and that'll be Kenneth Murray. He's still like more athlete than anything else right now, but the Jets do need linebacker. I'll give the Steelers Jeff Okudah because he still could end up being a good player, but year 1 and 2 were not good, and especially year 2. He was injured pretty much the whole season, but not great before then. Jeff Okudah could still end up being a top 50 pick. You know who's been kind of nice so far? Is Quez Watkins from Southern Miss. I'll make him the last pick here for the Bears. Quez Watkins for the Eagles has been kind of an underrated guy, but could be poised to break out. Still some good receivers available. Devin Duvernay, Tyler Johnson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and some of these guys that we really haven't seen enough from yet or have horrible off-field stuff. But I'm going to take Quez Watkins because it's a little bit more fun, and they had success with another kind of unknown guy in Jerry Jeudy, or excuse me, Darnell Mooney coming out of Tulane. So that's my redraft. You could do this in a bunch of different ways. I think Jordan Love probably sneaks in there somewhere just because the potential is still there. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson still available. They could definitely sneak in, but kind of a less valuable position at running back. Receivers, it's just so many up and down guys that I didn't really feel comfortable sneaking them in, or a tight end. Don't love the tackles. I really considered throwing some of these guards back in there, like Damian Lewis, I didn't really even talk about. Netani Muti didn't really even talk about. But those are guys that could end up being top 50 picks pretty easily if this were to be redrafted again. D-line, there isn't really a ton. We haven't seen it from Javon Kinlaw yet, but the potential's certainly there. Haven't really seen it from a lot of these edge rushers. Most of the good linebackers were off the board by this point. At corner, like some bad off the field guys in Gladney and Arnett, and then some unproven guys or guys that haven't really developed a ton in Noah Igbenogany or Meek Robertson. Cam Dantzler's okay. Big Play Darnay is a good slot corner. Michael Ojemudia has been pretty good at times. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way things went. Of course, feel free to disagree. Ashton Davis, Terrell Burgess, Brandon Jones, all still on the board, who are really good players in my opinion. But that's the way she goes. Not Cam Curl, too. Not everybody can be a top 50 pick. This is just what I decided to go with. This was definitely a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Back to the house, defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud.